Hey, what's going on, everybody? Manny at it again. Welcome to DFS Zone, man. We're going to go over this 10-game slate in the association. But before I get started, like always, man, I greatly appreciate all you guys. Drop a like on the video. If you're new here, never seen any of my videos before, hey, thank you so much for stopping by. I hope you like what you see and you come back. If you're not subscribed yet, hey, it's a simple little thing. It's totally free. Down below, that little red button, click on that, subscribe to the channel. It helps me out a whole lot. I appreciate it. And other than that, don't forget also to put on the post notifications, that bell icon. You got to turn it on, so this way you'll be notified right away when I upload a new video, all right? With that being said, today is Friday. It is December the 6th, 2019. And again, a 10-gamer in the association. And a little tricky, going into a 10-gamer, first things first, all right? On this channel, man, if you're new here, I do a weekly giveaway every single week. I give out a giveaway here. Pull out one person. The only thing you have to do to be a part of the giveaway is like the video, comment down something regarding the slate, anything, and at the same time, make sure that you are a subscriber and you qualify for that giveaway. What I give away my player pool, or I give you an option. If you're looking for research material, something to shorten up your time, I have what I developed, which is called a quick search sheet, and that quick search sheet is all in spreadsheet format with actual filters, so you can actually move the players around, determine value, price, whatever you want to look at, usage. But it's just a complete 10 to 15 statistical categories of information that'll make it a lot easier for you, where you don't have to go to 2 or 3 different websites to get this information, or even put the time in it. Everything is all right there, right in front of you in one screen and one sheet, and you can just move things around the way you want to. So I have those two options for those viewers. It's just my way of giving back. I know people give money giveaways and so on and so forth. I feel that something like this is even of more value. So if it is of value to you and you want to be able to have an opportunity at that, the only thing you have to do is like, comment, and subscribe. All right. Other than that, you can get access to those to the player pool as well as the quick search sheet. I also offer a GPP, cash, and top value plays of the day. It's another spreadsheet format where I give you what I think are the top 5 or more plays as far as tournament plays, cash plays, and value plays for each individual slate, the longest is 2 games or more. So all that is available. Just visit my Patreon page. I opened up a Patreon page a couple weeks ago. So go to patreon.com/DFS Zone and get yourself your tier if you want your player pool, whatever. And the beauty about the player pool is that, like I said, it's spreadsheet format. So throughout the course of the day, as I'm looking at players and making changes, it starts off with maybe 100, like I did today. There's 205 players pretty much on the actual player pool, but already I've narrowed that down to about 90 somewhat players, and by the time the day's over, it'll be down to the 25, 30 or so players. So if you want to follow along with that, that's the best way to go about it. Go down there, check out the tiers, sign up, and you'll be able to get that information. And look, you'll be able to get that information throughout the course of the day. All right. So again, 10-game slate. Always a tip. 10-game slate. This is a slate you can definitely do two more than one core lineup. I usually do. Again, if you're new here, I'm just strictly a tournament player, so I always try to just win the big bucks. That's just me. I know a lot of people play for cash. There are cash lines today. You could definitely play cash today. You could definitely play tournaments today. I would say if you play tournaments or cash, definitely have at least more than one core line. You have more than enough players to do that. And the other thing also is that other than that, if you're playing multiple lineups, you definitely want to have at least 2 core plays and make sure that you target the high implied total games and the competitive games on the slate. It doesn't have to be the competitive games, don't have to be the highest implied total, at least in my opinion. I target those games that are 210, 215. The longest the spread is really, really close. It's a competitive game. You got some superstars on each of those teams. Those are the games you want to target as well. So make sure that you are looking into all that. Today, very, very tricky day, man. If anybody knows me, I do not like 10-game slates. Don't like anything 9, 10, 11, 12 games. It's a lot more work to do, a lot more research. Remember the stuff that I do and that I'm offering to you on my tiers, I'm basically doing it. That's the format I use for myself. But when I do it now I'm willing to share it with you guys. So I basically, that same player pool is the same player pool I'm basing my lineups with, but it's just a lot more work. It's just a really pain in the butt. So I rather play the 5, the 6 games, the 7 game slates, and I also like playing a lot of the after hours simply because it's just 2 games that you got to focus on, 3, some of the express games. So that's the way I am, but I am strictly dealing with just targeting tournament games. So keep that in mind. Make sure you spread yourself around. You can go here with studs and scrubs. You can go here because of value studs and scrubs today. Another tip also, you can definitely go here with a balanced lineup. You can do a lot of multiple balanced lineups today. You should do well on this particular slate. And that's pretty much it. So let's get to it, man. I'm going to try to give you a couple of plays really quickly. I always give you options, as you know. We're going to go to point guard. At the top, we got Damian Lillard, Spencer Dinwiddie. Dinwiddie in play simply because he's just pretty much most of the offense for Brooklyn, but Brooklyn does have a couple other option players you can definitely pencil in today in your player pool, but he's in my player pool. I don't know if I'm going to just stick him in here as a core today. I'm going to, there are a couple guys. Malcolm Brogdon has had a little bit of success thus far, 3 games against Detroit this year, so he is definitely an option. He put up 45 and 43 in 2 out of the 3 games, so he's about right where he needs to be, especially for this matchup. Does have the potential to put up a high 40s in this matchup. He is an option. Tough game because he is going into Detroit. If it was in Indiana, I would probably like that matchup a little bit better. Satoransky in play, don't love his price tag at $6,500, but he is definitely an option. And but I'm going to come down to be cheap, man. We know that Isaiah Thomas had that calf injury. I doubt very much Isaiah Thomas is going to play today. Now, if he plays, hey, you know what? Then I got to change. This is why we got to stay on top of the news. But right now at the moment, guys like Nunn, because of the injuries in Miami, and of course, I'm going to come all the way down to Ish Smith at 4,300. Did pencil him in about 30% of my lineups last night. He panned out pretty well at 34 minutes, 19, 1, and 8. Put up 32 fantasy points. This is all based on just value. 4,300 for him here, 3,600 on DK. Definitely in play on DK. You only need about 15, 16 to meet value. He should be able to meet that. I don't expect him to play no less than 30 minutes today. Because they're definitely, these guys with the injuries with McCray hurt as well. They got a lot of injuries, Washington, so they're really banged up. They're going to need Ish Smith to play 30 minutes or better. And as long as he plays 30 minutes, and he's been pretty sound. If you look here at his game log, he's actually played almost about a point per minute pretty much every time he plays. 25 minutes here, put up 43, 26, 23 here, not too bad. Over here, 26 minutes, that put up 33, 23 over here, 33. So, and he has 40-point upside. So, again, he has some upside. He's capable of putting a point per minute up, and he's going to be needed today. Plus, he also plays limited minutes thus far this year, but when he's on the court, he is getting high usage, and that's something that we have to look at as well. So, he's coming in. When he's on the floor, he is right now personally taking his usage rate right now personally is at 21% in an average of 28 minutes, and he's going to play at least 30 minutes or better today. And if it's a competitive game, he may be there even longer. He's taking 10 shots a game, taking 2 to 3 threes per game. All right. He's shooting 44% from the floor, 35% from 3. And, I mean, as you can see, he can definitely get you some assists. He can score a little bit and can get you occasional steal here and there. He's going up against Miami. Not the greatest matchup, but Miami has been vulnerable in the backcourt as of late, even with Goran back there. They are 10th in defending point guards, allowing 38.2 fantasy points per game, which is a high number. That's over the course of the last 7 matchups. Kemba Walker put up 51, Van Fleet 37, Dinwiddie 41, Rozier 35. Again, high usage players. I wanted to make sure I point that out. Those are high usage players for each one of those teams, at least 25 to 26% or better out of all those teams as far as their usage rate. So they are guys that take tons of shots. He's going to be in a position he's going to need to. He only take 10 shots a game on average, and of course last night he took a little bit more. He's going to have to take some again here today, and especially Washington wants to do what they did last night, win another game. They're going to need some Ish Smith to be pretty solid and consistent tonight, And he is my play here as well as on DK at that $3,600 price tag. So Ish Smith in play, and let me find him here, and there he goes, 3,600. Next, let's go over to point guard. At point guard, well, like I said, Dinwiddie's in play. Brogdon, I think, is someone to consider. Satoransky. Jeff Teague, follow that news there, man. If Andrew Wiggins or Karl Anthony Towns is out, Jeff Teague is going to be definitely someone to consider in the matchup today for Minnesota. They're going to need somebody to do some scoring. Wiggins out. Teague definitely gets a nice big bump, 2 or 3% usage rate bump. And if Towns happens to be out, that'll be really tough for Minnesota, but it will be a position for Teague. And, of course, there's going to be some value opening up for Minnesota with Karl Anthony Towns out. So keep that in mind. Koji, there's going to be a number of guys that are going to be in play. So we have to watch that news, so stay on top of that. All right? Okay. And then the Miami also. I mean, Kendrick Nunn is in play. I mean, you got Goran Dragic out. You got possibly Winslow out. If Winslow is out, definitely you got to consider Nunn. You got to consider Tyler Hero. You know, those are the guys you got to look for in Miami. Is definitely a bump for Jimmy Butler. So those guys will be in play. Let's go over to shooting guard. So at shooting guard, we got Butler. We got Beal at the top. I think either one of those guys you can go with. Obviously, Butler at home is an advantage. He is at home. Both of these guys, Butler struggles at home. I looked at his home and away splits. I was really surprised. He's like 10%. His shooting is 10% lower at home than it is on the road all the way throughout, even with his threes. But again, he has had a day's rest while Beal is coming in on a back-to-back, so I will have to favor the guy who's at home. And even though he hasn't been shooting well at home, he is at home. He's had a day off, and a team coming in on a back-to-back. Beal didn't shoot particularly well last night. He could bounce back and have a big game today. You know he's going to take tons of shots. So either one of these guys here, if you wanted to pay up at the top, I'm okay with. I'm going to come down to Zach LaVine at 8,400 again. I've been on Zach LaVine quite a bit, and he's come through every single time. He did play against Golden State not so long ago and put up a 59 spot. That was his best game over the course of the year and the best game over the last 5 or 6 games for him. But LaVine, I just like everything that he's been doing. I mean, he's taking tons of shots. His usage rate is high. You know, he has been, as you can see, 35 points a game. He's been pretty much close to that, so he's been more consistent than he has been in a while. Not as erratic. 35 plus in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out of his last 6 games. He's been at that range. With 50 plus upside, you cannot go wrong. He is still playing 33 plus minutes, shooting 44% from the floor. Excellent from 3 at 41%. He's also a pretty good free throw shooter, can get you some rebounds and assists, as you can see that here. And he has the occasional block and can get you some steals. So defensively, he is not that bad of a ball player. His usage rate is at 29.5%, pretty much close to 30%, taking 17 to 18 shots a game, still taking about 8 threes on average. Like I said, he played Golden State 4 games ago. He put up a 59 spot in 36 minutes. So I do like him a whole lot here versus Golden State. Plus, they lost that game, and he would have probably played a little bit more if the game was a little bit more competitive. Kind of lost their edge there in the middle of the fourth quarter. I remember watching the game because I had him on that game as well. But Golden State Warriors, 28th in defending shooting guards. They've been allowing 39.4, nearly 40 fantasy points per game. They did give a monster game in their last outing to Devontae Graham of the Charlotte Hornets. He put up a 59. Other than that, Bunbury put up 30. Fournier put 37. And, of course, yours truly, Zach LaVine, put up 59. 4 games back. So LaVine in play for me on both sides. And again, you know, there are those other guys there that I did mention that you should definitely keep on your radar as well. We're going to go over, other than that, like I said, Jimmy Butler and Bradley Beal are definitely guys that I'm considering. You wanted to pay down a little bit. Fournier has been pretty consistent. His price tag is up to 7, so he's priced about what he's been producing, 35 to 33. You know, he's in that 30 to 35 range. Chris Middleton didn't have a good game against the Clippers the first time around. Might have a better game today. He's at 3,500. Other than that, those Brooklyn guys are always guys you got to consider. Guys like Harris, guys like Temple here at 5,600. And Tyler Hero will be in play here at 4,300. I think he's definitely to consider, as well as Duncan Robinson for the Miami Heat. Anybody else I miss here? Bogdanovich is right now game time decision. If he is out, obviously that's a bump on Buddy Hield. I'm not too high on Buddy Hield by himself here today against the San Antonio Spurs. We're going to go over to small forward. And at small forward, at the top, we got Giannis. And I love Giannis here today, man. This is a game. Granted, he played against these guys the first time, and he played against the Clippers. There was no PG-13. There was no George, and there was no Kawhi. It was all Lou Will, the only offense they had, and Milwaukee barely escaped this game by winning by 4 or 5 points. But, I mean, what can we say about Giannis, man? He is just absolutely, you know, crazy. These last few games here, you can't even base it on these last few games here because they were all like blowout. 27 minutes he only played here, 21-19. And just look at the numbers. All of them exceed. He scored more than 1 point from the floor per minute that he was on the floor. That's just crazy. You don't see those numbers, and that's what he brings to the table. So again, he did put up a huge number against the Clippers the first time. As you can see, at 35 minutes, 38, 16, 9, 2 and 2, 79.7, pretty much at 80 spot. Don't see him getting an 80 today with those guys, probably one of those guys obviously defending him today. But he loves competitive games. This is a guy that doesn't lose his edge. He is very composed. He always seems to be very concentrated. That's what makes him such a superior player. He is athletically, he is fine all the way across the board. Crazy wingspan, very, very lean and tall. He brings a lot to the table, and he is very dangerous. I could still see him getting 65 to 70 here. Would he get 80? Who knows? But this should be another competitive game. It will be his biggest challenge of the year, but I think he'll be up for it. He is playing 32 minutes a game, shooting 56% from the floor, 32% from three. He's not a great free throw shooter. We know that. So when he gets on the foul line, it's like, it's hit or miss with him. He's about 56% or something like that. But he brings to the board. He brings you the boards, rebounding. He can get you some assists. And as you can see, he's definitely can get you some steals and blocks. And that's where he gets all those additional peripherals and those additional fantasy points. Last game against the Clippers, like I said, 79 spot, pretty much almost 80 in 36 minutes. Again, that was without Kawhi and without Paul George. I expect it to be a little bit more challenging, but he is at home. He'll be fired up. Big game for the Milwaukee Bucks. They want to make it a statement game against this Clipper team. The Clippers coming in 16th in defending power forwards. Remember, he's a small forward eligible here. He's small forward, power forward eligible on DK. They have 16th in defending power forwards, allowing 31.7 fantasy points per game. The Clippers are. They did give up 48 to Hachimura, 52 to Aldridge over the last two games. And those guys are nowhere in the league of Giannis. So this should be a very, very nice game for Giannis. Other than that, LeBron James is definitely in my radar, against Portland, more so than Anthony Davis. So LeBron James will be in play if you wanted to go there. The same here for Giannis on DK. So I just want to let you guys know I do definitely like him there as well. But moving forward here, LeBron James in play. Jonathan Isaac on DK, he is my power forward. So I'm just going to put him in there right now because at 6,400, I think he is just a little too cheap there at that price tag. So Jonathan Isaac in play for me at power forward. But just going over a couple options more on small forward. So Isaac, I think Taurean Prince and Joe Harris, either one of the two for the Brooklyn Nets are definitely options. Harris I like a little bit more at 5,600 over Prince. Charlotte has been giving up 35 fantasy points per game to opposing small forwards. And Mr. Harris did put up 35 the first time around. Then you got Troy Brown. Got to consider Troy Brown here. Due to the fact that McRae is out, the injuries that Washington has, he is definitely someone to consider there as well. And then, of course, if Winslow happens to be out, you see here Justice Winslow, if he happens to be out, definitely a bump for Hero, JB, Jimmy Butler, as well as Robinson and Nunn. So those guys, one of those guys will definitely be able to get a little bit more usage out of it. And it'll be spread around across the floor from Miami, but I think it will be more Hero and probably Nunn, in my opinion. So Justice Winslow. So watch the news on that. All right, let's go to power forward. So at power forward at the top, man, we have Anthony Davis, Kawhi Leonard, Domantas Sabonis, Jason Tatum. I mean, out of all these guys here, I think, Sabonis has had a couple of decent games against Detroit, but he is priced about what he's going to be at. He should put up 40 to 45 against Detroit. I don't think he'll smash 50 plus against these guys. And me as a GPP player, tournament player, I would love to see him put at least 50, 55 in this matchup for it to be worthwhile for me to pay for him at 8,600. Kevin Love, watch this injury news here. If he is out, Larry Nance obviously gets a bump. Obviously, Tristan Thompson will get a bump, but then again, Tristan Thompson is a game-time decision as well. So there's going to be other options, other value that's going to come up for the Cleveland Cavaliers. Obviously, Sexton will be more in play as well. He's going to get definitely a bump in usage if Kevin Love or Tristan Thompson is out. But then, of course, with Love out, it'll be Larry Nance. I'm going to come down to Bam Adebayo versus Washington. Washington coming in on the front end of the back-to-back. They definitely struggle up front. This is an area that Bam should definitely capitalize in. He has been a little bit up and down. The minutes are there, man, but he hasn't had a double-double in 2 straight games. He's had 16 and 28. He did play 2 days ago against Boston. These were 2 good defensive teams. You know, Gasol can be very tough on some centers, even though he's a little older guy. He definitely always makes it tough on some guys. Even though he did score 18 points from the floor, he did not have the double-digit rebounding, only put up 28 fantasy points. He didn't get the big peripherals either. What we want from Bam is not so much the scoring. It's more about him getting rebounds, blocks, and steals. But nonetheless, I still like him. 7 out of his last 10 games, he's been at 35 plus, which is really close to his fantasy points average. And at 7,800, you only need 30, pretty much 37, 38. So he's my power forward here. And like I said, my DK is Jonathan Isaac. But, I mean, he's shooting 56. He's playing 32-plus minutes, shooting 56% from the floor. And, of course, he can get you rebounds. And what we want to see is the blocks and steals. That's how we get the additional fantasy points. And that's what we want from Bam. That's the fantasy points that we want to get from a guy like Bam Adebayo. His usage rate is nearly 20% at 19.5. He's taking 10 shots per game. Not a big shot, scorer from the floor. We just need him to do the peripherals. He's going up against Washington. Washington is 22nd in defending centers, allowing 30.4. Remember, I'm on Fanduel now. He's power forward here, but he is power forward center, or I believe he's just center eligible already just on DraftKings. So remember, we're penciling him because he has been playing center. He is the center here thus far today. Fanduel, I'm going to have basically 2 centers pretty much with Bam playing center. But Bam, like I said, going back, Washington 22nd defending centers, allowing 30.4 fantasy points per game. They did give up 47 in their last game to Embiid, 37 to McGee, 46 to Rashawn Holmes over the course of the last 4 or 5 games. So again, I do like Bam. We'll pencil him in there. And then, like I said, on DK, I like Jonathan Isaac. Jonathan Isaac at 6,400, only needing 32 to meet value. He's averaging 32. He has been trending a little bit downward. You know, if we go back over here and we take a look at him, trending a little bit down. But again, you know, this is hurting him a little bit with Aaron Gordon back. Obviously, he loses out on a few rebounds. But same thing with him like it is with Bam. We don't need him to score a whole lot from the floor. We just need Jonathan Isaac to play defense and do all the dirty work where he's really good at. He's long, lean. He's got a tremendously big wingspan, 4 rebounds a game, 6 rebounds. We need him to get back to those 10, 11 rebounds a game, get a 1 or 2 assists, and get us the peripherals, the blocks, the steals. And that's where he's going to get all this, give us all the fantasy point totals we want. We want fantasy points, folks. So I do believe this is a great spot for him. He's playing more than enough minutes. He doesn't take a ton of shots. He's playing 30-plus minutes a game, taking 10, 11 shots, 3 or 4 from 3. He's shooting 45% from the floor, 33% from 3. Usage rate is at 19%, which is pretty respectable for a starting player. All right. And again, he brings the blocks and steals, and that's what we want. That's what we really want here. All right. So I like Jonathan Isaac as a power forward on DraftKings. We go and see what other options we have. If we look at other options at power forward for today, you got to watch that Kevin Love news. LaMarcus Aldridge, another thing, game time decision. If he's out, obviously Jacob Porter will be someone to consider. You got Trey Lyles. You know, guys like DeRozan for sure will get a huge bump because they're going to need to provide more scoring. So this will be a big loss for San Antonio for them. But we got to watch that news because they'll open up some value there. Forbes, you know, guys like that, Patty Mills, all these guys get a little bump when you got no LaMarcus Aldridge on the court. That Jared Allen, I do love here. Jared Allen, 7,300, but I love him on DK. On DK, he's only about 65. What is he? No, he's actually about the same price. Let's see, center. Where is Allen? Jared Allen. Now he's 7,200. Again, I think Jared Allen is definitely someone to consider, you know, in a matchup today. So Jared Allen, 7,300 against Charlotte. I could definitely go there. You know, Charlotte has been having their issues at center as well. Other than that, Rashad Holmes could be an option here. San Antonio, Aaron Gordon against Cleveland, especially if there's no Kevin Love, could be an option at 7,000. Obviously, Larry Nance will be a bump. He will be someone that you can consider at 6,600 going up against Orlando if there's no Kevin Love. Other than that, I am not fond or big on anybody else. These guys are all injured here. All right, let's go over to center. So at center, at the top, we got Karl-Anthony Towns. And prior to me coming on here to do the video, I heard that he is a game time decision, you know, as far as tonight. So game time decision for Karl-Anthony Towns if he happens to be out. Again, Andrew Wiggins, guys like Jeff Teague will be guys that you definitely got to consider. Andrew Drummond, solid here, has had some really big games already. Thus far this year, he put up 41, 41, and 81 in 3 games against Indy in 3 matchups already. So he's finally in play at 10,006. He needs 52, 53 to meet value. So it is a huge number, but he is averaging 49 and has been capable of getting 50s and 60s throughout the year. So Drummond, out of the guys at the top, will be probably the best option. You come down here in the middle, Whiteside obviously in play against the Lakers. I do think he is someone you can't consider there. And Tristan Thompson will be in play if there's no Kevin Love and he plays. He will be an option. No Vucevic there for Orlando. Should be an opportunity for him. He played them already twice. Only been averaging about 31, 32 fantasy points in the 2 games. That's about his average. But at 74, we need 36, 37. But he could be someone to consider. I do like Brook Lopez here at 5,600, at least for right now. So remember, none of this is, don't set this on stone. You don't just go and put them in. Follow all this news. There's a lot of news that we got to follow here throughout the day. If you want to follow along, again, just go to patreon.com/DFS zone. Sign up for the player pool, and then you'll be able to have access to that throughout the day as I make my changes. Brook Lopez, 5,600. You need 24, 25, pretty much to be. You need about 26 to meet value. He's 5,200 on DK, so he's firmly in play in both sites. 22 plus in 8 straight games, which is pretty darn good because he's averaging 27, so he's not that far off. He does have 40, 50-point upside. He did a 54 here and a 42. So he has those moments. In competitive games, he plays over 30 minutes, and that's the key here. And he's going to be in a game here that should be a competitive game. He's shooting 41% from the floor, 29% from 3, and he is an excellent free throw shooter when he gets to the line. Doesn't get to the line a whole lot, but he does. It's 93% of the time he buries his shot. His usage rate is about 16%, which is pretty good for a center that's not a high usage center. He's still able to score. He's able to hit threes on a consistent basis as well if he gets hot from there. The rebounding, and of course, we'd like to see him get the blocks and steals, which he is capable of doing. He's pretty good at blocking the ball, so we get those extra peripherals from him. He's only taking 8 or 9 shots a game, and like I said, 4 or 5 threes on a regular basis. I do like him here tonight in this critical game for Milwaukee against the Clippers. The Clippers, they have been giving up. Oh, first things first. See, that first time he played the Clippers, let me stroll all the way down here. He put up 32 minutes, 11 and 12, double-double, 3, 6, and 1, 47.9. He put up a 48 spot in his first game against them with 32 minutes. So, again, the Clippers defending centers. They're 23rd in the league, allowing 29.5, nearly 30 fantasy points per game over the last 4 or 5 games. They did give up 33 to Whiteside. Now, take into account that was in the last game against Whiteside, but that was a blowout loss for the Clippers. So Whiteside didn't have to play a whole lot of minutes. He put up that 33, I think, in like 20-somewhat minutes. 58 for Valanciunas and 43 for Capella. Those guys did that over the course of the last 4 or 5 games. So I think Brook Lopez is in play, very nice play at 5,600 in a competitive game at home versus the Clippers. All right, other options you may have, like I said, Drummond. Watch the news on Tristan Thompson. I think he will be in play against Orlando with no Vucevic. Jacob Portal versus Sacramento, especially with Aldridge out. He will be someone to consider here as well at 5,100. I think he's firmly in play. Sacramento giving up 35.3 fantasy points per game to opposing centers. And Jared Allen, like I said before, at 7,300 versus Charlotte, giving up 34.2 fantasy points per game. He will be an option as well. All right, that's pretty much it. That's where I'm at. That's pretty much it. That's where I'm at, man. If you want to follow along with player pool, or you want to just get the quick search sheet, which is just a breakdown of all the entire slate of all players, 205, all that information is right there with the filter where you can maneuver all the guys around. You can find out who's the top salary, who's the lower salary. You can just adjust it all on the screen. Just go down to the link in the description down below to the Patreon page for me, and you'll be able to get that information. Other than that, man, I wish you a lot of luck. Enjoy your Friday, and I'll see you guys on the next video.